This is an embroidery machine that's sold by Amazon. It's available as a combination sewing and embroidery or embroidery only. This is an embroidery only version. It does have some buttons on here that, since it's embroidery only, that don't do anything. They're dummy buttons. Anyway, this was sold under the Averma name. It had a label up here, Averma. I removed that. It's a disgraceful company to deal with. It does have a great big huge screen, and when you turn the machine on, it's got an opening screen that says Averma. This is also sold as a Poulin, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of other different name brands selling the same machine, and they're selling for anywhere between 600 and something to 800 and something dollars. I guess people are about this machine. See, I bought this machine on Amazon. It was supposed to be a new, but it turns out it was a used machine, and then when I got it, it had a broken part on it. I was able to fix the part though because it was broken plastic. What I did find though, I'm going to set this aside for now. What was a kind of a shock to me is here on the back of the machine, it has absolutely nothing about a manufacturer or a place of manufacture. Now, to be sold in the United States, it's required to have a country of origin, which is not on here. There's no name of a company, there's no country of origin. This is an illegal machine to be sold here. And of course, this has got some kind of an added, the piece with the serial number has been stuck on over something else that's under there. What it is, I don't know. But as you can see, there's absolutely nothing on there about where it's made or even of a country. So that's a big black flag there. And also another thing, let's take a look here. I got two cords here. The one on the bottom is a cord from a sewing machine, from a Pfaff or a Brother sewing machine, and you can see it's a big fat cord. See the one on the top here? This little tiny thing. This is the cord for the Averma, and there is electric cords on imported items to the United States. They have to have cords that conform to certain standards, and this does not. This is just a chintzy, cheap little third world country cord where there's no regulations on anything, and it should have a cord like this. If it's legal to be sold in the United States, it should have a cord like this, which it doesn't. So these companies are selling these machines illegally. I don't know how they're getting them into this country, but they're not legal to be sold here. And another thing, we'll get to, these machines have no warranty. On the Amazon listings, it says contact the seller about the warranty. Well, there is no warranty. There's no parts available in this country for these. Your local sewing machine dealer may take it apart and service it for you and clean it out inside, but if something goes wrong, he's not going to waste the time trying to order parts from a bunch of different machines and see if they fit this. He's going to tell you, buy a good machine that you can get parts for. When I bought this machine, the small hoop here would not release. You just couldn't get it to release. I ran across this on a Brother machine. This is a Brother hoop on another Brother machine before too. And what somebody did, they just reefed and pulled up on it, and they broke a plastic part inside here. I contacted Averma, and Averma says, "Oh, you didn't buy that machine from us." Well, who else sells Averma machines in the United States? They're the only ones. And then they said, "Well, we don't have any parts. We can't send you any parts." Well, what did that tell you? That tells you they can't send you any parts. There's no dealer in the United States that is going to do any warranty work on this. The only warranty you get is you have to send it back in 30 days to Amazon if something breaks. If something breaks after that, you're out of luck. So that's really not something that you want to be stuck with. The machine itself is not a bad machine. It had some problems. the front of the machine here. I took this machine apart because these two buttons here, they rattle like a bunch of dice in a plastic cup. They're very, very loose. If you push one, the other one will the other one will move. This is a dummy, of course, because this same front is used on the sewing and embroidery combination machine, but this is a embroidery only, so you don't need a reverse button. You don't need a needle. Well, yeah, lots of needle up, needle down does work on most other sewing and embroidery machines. This does have a thread cutter in it, but good luck. The button only works once in a great while, and most of the time it doesn't. This is a start-stop button, and that works, but you have a start-stop control on the big touch screen here. One thing I do like, you can set the speed varying in 20 RPM steps from about 200 RPM all the way up to 600 or 650, something like that. I don't remember. But anyway, that's one nice thing about it. The bad thing here, these little buttons, there's no way to tighten them on the back. They're behind a little circuit board here. The circuit board is held on by 2 screws, and it is firm. There's no way to tighten those buttons up back in there. Now here's a problem. This circuit board extends down. This is a screw on this edge right here. This button down here, you can see the circuit board moving up and down when you push this button. Eventually that's going to crack across there. If that breaks the traces, the electrical traces that connect the electricity to this button, it's going to put this button out of order. May put the machine out of order. I don't know. Let's hope not. But anyway, let me set this aside. Show you another problem the machine had when I got it. Need my flashlight here. Where the embroidery arm plugs in, right down here to these little contact teeth. This piece, well, it's still loose in there. It moves back and forth. See if I can zoom in down there to show you. See it moving back and forth in there? That's no good. But at least after I looked, there's no way to fix that. See if I can find where I'm looking here. There we go. There's one long peg here on a spring, and then another peg that barely comes through that are supposed to hold it. And that's all there is that even holds this in there. So that is really kind of, well, let's say you wouldn't find that on a regular good quality machine. So why they did it that way, I don't know. Let's get to the design of the machine now. This appears to have lots of Brother components on it, but I'm not sure whether Brother is the one that assembled it or not. It might be a company just buys some parts from Brother, but the hook is Brother. Part of the needle plate here. And a lot of you, if you have Brother machines, you will recognize this. How do we go here? That goes just like that. You got your little bobbin cover right there. When I got this machine, it was all messed up in the packing. It was loose, bouncing around. I was afraid it would be damaged, and this was off of the machine. I thought it was lost. I found it clear down underneath a bunch of the packing. In the meantime, I thought, uh-oh, what am I going to do? That's not there. I went and got one of these off a Brother machine and stuck it on, and I find out, okay, well, there is a difference. The Brother sold in the United States. This part right here, from here to here, is smaller. It's about 1/4 of an inch less. So when I was slipping that one on here, I noticed there was a opening. I thought, well, now that isn't any good. And when I was getting the box ready to throw it out, I found this, thank goodness, and this fits like it's supposed to then. Anyway, servicing this machine, Service is like any other. It's got bushing on the top shaft here and a bushing here, a bushing on the bottom shaft here, and one on the end you get to here. Now these, generally you see some traces of black grease where they're assembled at the factory and they have grease on them. Grease lasts a lot, lubricates a lot longer than oil. There's no trace of any lubrication on either of these. So if there is any in there, I don't know how long it's going to last. Now here I'm going to talk about a little controversy. Sewing machine people, technicians tell you don't ever put oil on these because if they've got grease on them and you put oil, the oil washes out all the grease. Well, if there's any grease in there at all, there's no trace of it. And if there is any, here you need a little oiler like this, but just a tiny, tiny dab of oil. That will help spread the grease that's there and make it live a little bit longer. And of course, when the grease gets old, if this machine was 10, 12 years old, you got to start oiling it, and you got to oil it quite often then, yearly. Grease lasts a long time, but it eventually goes away. One thing a sewing machine technician will tell you, well, if you put oil on and then you put grease on, the grease won't do you any good because the oil keeps the grease from going onto the metal and lubricating it. Well, that's true, but if the grease is on there first and you put it, and it's getting a little hard and dry, and you put a little tiny bit of oil, it will mix with the grease and help it flow better. So this is what you need for oiling the machine like this. Plus it's got a brother hook right here, and this, let me zoom in here. This needs to be oiled right here around the dark little circle. The hook turns on that, and that holds the hook down in there. So we always take and put a little oil right around this piece right here. Turn the hand wheel a little bit, move it, and make it flow around, and then take your little screwdriver, pop this plastic magnet out, and clean any oil residue off of it, and clean any oil off that's down around there under it, and then stick it back in. And of course, you've got some gears, synthetic grease. There's 2 gears down here running the hook, a plastic one and a metal one. There's a set of gears down here that run the cutter, and the cutter works once in a while. And there's a set of gears up here. I don't know why they even put this on, because the needle up, oh, let me get back here. Needle up, needle down doesn't even work, but there's the stepping motor for the needle up, needle down, and there's the gears for it. I don't know why they're there. There is no needle up, needle down function on this. So the machine does have a very heavy, thick timing belt on it that runs the bottom shaft from the top. However, the belt that runs the motor here, I've never seen a belt so thin in my life. That is the skinniest. It's about as thick as a piece of tape. Also, it is advisable to put a tad bit of oil. Here's the shaft coming out of the motor, and a little tiny bit on the other end there. Oh, I'm not even in my, let me lower this back down. It is advisable to put a little oil right there on the shaft of the motor in the end, and on the belt end, just on the shaft. Not enough to spread, just the tiniest little bit to get into that brass bushing. There's brass bushing on that end. And also you do the same on the motor for the cutter. It's got a little shaft that comes through on the bottom, and a little tiny bit in there on the top, and that helps those stay lubricated. Anyway, this machine was a little tricky coming apart. Machines, there's only about 3 screws on the back, but then the front cover is stuck on. It's got a clip on this end right here, and it's got a clip here where most machines do, and a clip here where most machines do. But then I was fighting the machine because the front cover was still really solid on this end, and a lot of machines have a screw that you get to down this way after you take the cover off of the end here. This one didn't, but it was hooked really solid. Up on the top here you can see the tension dial sticks up. You have to use a screwdriver and pry the top part of the front cover way up so it will clear right here. Here's where the wheel is, and you have to pry this part right here way up so it will clear the tension adjuster wheel here. And you're going to think that's going to break, because that's a stout piece, it's a shaped piece, it's not just a flat piece of plastic, and it is really hard, and you think you're going to crack the plastic, but it'll just barely come up enough to let it pull over. The last thing I found, though, another one, I was searching why the front wouldn't come loose here. There is a clip right here. Right there. So 3 clips, and then it slips down in the front here. Plastic slips down over the front in 2 places. So that's how one of these comes apart, and that's the scoop. These machines are illegal to sell here. Amazon will sell anything, I guess, and they don't care what it is. They won't investigate to see if they're legal. As long as they make money on a sale, they'll just let anybody sell anything. How these get into the country, that's another thing. The customs is so busy trying to stop illegal drugs and things, they don't have time to go after things like this. And of course, there's no warranty. Once your 30-day after your purchase is gone and something breaks, you might as well just throw it in the trash or buy another machine. If you can find a used one for parts, and have somebody work on it that knows what they're doing. But otherwise, I find it's not a bad machine.